Welcome. This is the Tuesday, April 23rd meeting of the Citizens Law Enforcement Review Board. Welcome. Secretary, can you take roll, please?
Chair Eileen Delaney,
Here.
Vice Chair Miriam Pintar,
Here.
Secretary Bonnie Kink is here, Dr. Brown,
Here.
Andrew Hayes,
Here.
Nadia Keen Ayub.
She will be here. She's just running late.
Oh, okay. Ariana Federico Mondragon, Tim Ware, G.I. Wilson.
Here.
Oops. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Next is our public comments, is opportunity members of the public to speak on any subject matter within our jurisdiction, but not on tonight's agenda. Please fill out a request to speak. Norris, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Delaney. We have 4 requests to speak in person. I will start with Sandy Whittle.
Hi, good evening. My name is Sandy Weddle. I represent North County Equity and Justice Coalition, Saving Lives in Custody. I am the mother of Saxon Frederick Rodriguez, who died of a fentanyl overdose after 4 days in central jail. And despite several investigations, I have no real definite answers as to where the drugs that killed my son came from or how they got into the jail undetected. I will continue to ask that all jail staff and personnel who enter the jails be scanned for any illegal contraband. Kelly Martinez needs to stop making lame excuses as to why she refuses to implement this CLERB recommendation. Nobody is above the law, not even the deputies. The sheriff's open data website for suspected overdoses and Narcan deploys has not been updated for almost a month. So I'm asking CLERB again to please audit this sheriff's information, that it is reported accurate and timely. Because this time last year, April 2023, there were 63 suspected overdoses, suspected drug overdoses, and 209 Narcan deploys combined. This year, there have been 15 suspected overdoses and 0 Narcan deploys in 4 months. Even with 12 suspected overdoses, there should be some record of some Narcan deploys. So I'm just asking CLERB, please investigate this. I would also like to formally ask CLERB if it's not something that's already being recorded and documented, to compile all the names of the deputies, doctors, and nurses who are working in the jails when an inmate dies. Not sure how we're supposed to file formal complaints on staff when their identities are kept from us. It's not always suitable to file a wrongful death lawsuit, and that seems to be the only way that we would have subpoena power for any of this information. And then also establishing a pattern in the hundreds of deaths that have occurred. And lastly, to my beloved son, Saxon Frederick Rodriguez, may you rest in heavenly peace. Thank you.
Thank you. One clarification on our roll call. It was Ariana that is late. Is that what you, who you? Yeah, it's not Nadia, it's Ariana. Thank you.
Chair Delaney, next we will call Paloma Serna.
My name is Paloma Serna. I'm the mother of Elisa Serna, who died November 11, 2019 at the hands of the San Diego Sheriff deputies at Las Colinas and their employees of medical staff. You know, I'm sure you guys are aware, when you guys read the newspaper, that the video evidence and exhibits were unsealed. And I could not find email addresses to send that directly, personally to you guys, but I was able to send it and to the investigators, and I did receive an email that it would be put into Elisa's file. I beg and I ask that you guys please pull out that file, click on those links, and take a look at what they did to my baby. I just came from a deposition right now for the nurse, Pascal. She don't know why she left her like that. You could just, and the deposition was public today. So multiple people were watching her deposition. You could see the lack of compassion. We really need the CLERB to really strive to go forth and trying to oversee medical staff. And I know it will take time, but it has to be more than recommendations. It really do. We need to fight where we could actually twist the arms of the San Diego sheriffs to do the right thing and hold everyone accountable. Paul Parker made a statement with the UT on February 7, 2021. He stated, without jurisdiction over medical staff, it will continue to be difficult for the CLERB to thoroughly investigate deaths and transparently report on deaths occurring in the jails, as sometimes that critical information must be redacted if even known. And a lot of these San Diego sheriff deputies, we could not even get them through litigation or charge them criminally because the San Diego sheriff refused to release their names. And that is not right. It just shows the public, the community, how they're trying to cover up and how they use the statute of limitation also to their benefit. And they have no concern for the impacted families. So I wish you, I beg you guys to once again, please take a look at those videos and see what they did to her. Please.
Next, we will call Sabrina Widow.
Hello, my name is Sabrina Weddle, Saxon Rodriguez's older sister. As you guys know, Saxon died July 20th, 2021 in San Diego Central Jail. This week an article came out from the calmatters.org. And there was a statement in it. And it says, Parker said he would have considered staying if the County Board of Supervisors had forced the sheriff's office to be responsive, transparent, get deputies scanned, or appointed someone with the power to do so. It's crazy to think that as family members who have lost somebody in custody and that we're fighting for this, that Paul Parker, as somebody who hasn't lost somebody in custody, gave up. I will not give up the fight for my brother, but it is scary to see that we're asking for the same thing over and over. We're seeing lives being lost time and time again. And all we want is the sheriffs to be responsive, to give us some answers, to be scanned. You know, I'm so tired of saying the same thing over and over at the meetings, and how I replay Melissa Burns getting on one of these CLERB meetings, being a nurse that's been employed at the San Diego County Jail for 10 plus years and stating, oh, jail is the best place to receive treatment for an overdose. It's jail. They shouldn't be overdosing in jail. Or the fact that Brian Powell, Andrew Randovich, Maxwell Wimple, Andre Wanzer, the 4 deputies that were responsible on the 4th floor, Team 2, will never be held responsible for Saxon's death. Or the 9 nurses, Melissa Burns, Reggie Barreto, Carrie Cavello, Reincarnacia, Caitlin Hendricks, Marlene Abanza, Kelly Payne, Levy Santos, and Chantel Williams, also will never be charged or held responsible. But I sat today at a deposition for a nurse that didn't know half of what she learned at a nursing school. Everything was, I don't know. She didn't know how to take Elisa Serna's blood pressure that day because she didn't want to. And to think, I wonder about Caitlin Hendricks, who I asked Saxon the day before he died if he wanted a COVID shot. I'll never even know if Saxon actually said yes or no. Did she get a grunt and continue on with her route? Because she would have seen if my brother was overdosing or high, because he was a fentanyl user. This morning, I got a call from our 3rd liaison. It's like we get a new one each year. I sent him an email to James McConaughey on Monday morning telling him how much he sucked, because he messaged me in February stating, hi, I would like to check up on you and your family. And I sent him 2 emails asking questions, and I never got responses until I told him he sucked, and now I have a new liaison. I would love to know what liaisons' jobs are.
Thank you. Next, we will call Diana Serna. Right. He's online.
So who are you ceding your time to? Joseph Miller, okay.
All right. Next, we will call Marcus.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Marcus Barosa. I'm a civil rights attorney in town at Mackenzie Scott PC. I always want my comments to echo the family members who are here who have lost their loved ones and who are always here. And I appreciate this board's constantly hearing from family and everybody who are aggrieved by our local law enforcement. So I want to echo all of that, but I also am coming up today with a much more mundane request. So as a civil rights attorney, part of my work is looking for patterns and practices that suggest a policy that was never written down. And we know that many of the sheriff's policies are just not written down for exactly the reason that a civil rights lawyer like me might one day find out about it if they wrote it down. And one place we look is to this board's findings as part of your investigations. I represent Eric Talavera, who was shot by the sheriff's deputies in February of 2022. This body took up draft findings at your November meeting, and my mundane request is that you post your ultimate findings. I think the board went into the closed session and hasn't posted the ultimate findings. I can't find them. I considered submitting a CPRA request to obtain them, as well as minutes from recent meetings, but I think it's just one of these mundane sort of paperwork things that is falling behind, but is immensely important to your work in oversight, in publicizing what you ultimately find. And so thank you for your continued efforts there. The COs have to be scanned. The board has to expand jurisdiction to the medical staff. All of those recurring issues remain, and I continue to support them. Thanks.
Thank you. Norris, can you check on that for me, please? My understanding is that all of our
Yes, Chair Delaney, it looks like there is a glitch here and it's not showing, but I will make sure that we fix it with IT.
okay, great. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Can we do it? Can we do it as soon as possible? Put a priority on that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, Chair Delaney, we have multiple requests this week to speak online. If you allow me, I can call them.
Yes.
So first, we will start with Darwin Fishman.
Good evening, Darwin Fishman, Racial Justice Coalition of San Diego, he, him, his. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. And I just wanted to start by just saying the background, because of course I'm coming here every month and speaking to you guys, but I'm hoping that this background will help in terms of the context for all of you that you're acting in terms of CLERB members. You just recently had a UT editorial slamming Sheriff Martinez for the conditions in jails and in custody deaths. You've had a series of articles, ongoing series of articles from Jeff McDonald that have been critical about the conditions in jail and critical about the Sheriff's Department. You've had a Democratic Party resolution that AC Mills and I wrote that passed for policy recommendations. You've had the work of Assembly Member Dr. Akilah Weber, State Senator Tony Atkins, including statewide legislation that has passed, and the audit. You've had supervisor resolutions the last few years. I've been critical of the Sheriff's Department and the conditions in jails. And with this background, I say that hopefully, given that Paul Parker's resigned and also that we still have in custody deaths, that this creates a lot of space for CLERB to do things that you've not historically done, like going to supervisor meetings. I would even encourage you to go to Sacramento and meet with state legislators. And in that sense, I think there's more points that you can do to apply more pressure. I don't think it's a given that we've hit a roadblock, and just because Sheriff Martinez is boycotting your meetings and will not meet with community members or impacted family members, that has to be the way it is, that there isn't a potential for applying pressure on the Sheriff's Department and it being effective to change the conditions in jails and to lower the amount of in-custody deaths. And I think that given the pattern continues, it's not just the amount, but it's the type of in-custody deaths that we're continuing to see. It should still hopefully be alarm bells, fire for pressure for you guys to do more work. And I think also when you open it up, things like community town hall, which you've done in the past, I think it'll again apply the needed pressure that's there. I hope that you see that this is not normal conditions and that you find a different way to operate and engage with things like the sheriff's department. Certainly when I was on the CRB, old CRB for the city of San Diego, we hit similar roadblocks, and my fellow colleagues, my fellow members did try to find other avenues to apply pressure. And they even went outside things like the bylaws that we had to be able to do that, saying, given these conditions, given how horrible things are, we need to go above and beyond just what's stated on paper, just the rules that we perceive. So I want to encourage you with that work, and know that you've got partners in the community here that you're hearing from tonight that will support you with this work if you step out and take these positions and do this work. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will go with Yusuf Miller.
Hello, my name is Yusuf Miller, North County Equity and Justice Coalition, Saving Lives in Custody campaign. And I'm in traffic also on my way. But I want to say that the families deserve the transparency that they're asking for. I see we have loss of life. Still, we're at the 4th in custody death, but we're still below the rate. I mean, above the rate of LA, who's creeping up slowly. But this should concern all of us. All of us should be engaged in making sure that we have not one more death. And the scan of deputies is not a tough request. It is not a painful request. It's something that we can do to ease the mind of the community that is worried and stressing on these issues. And especially with the last case in March, where we had Mr. Abdul, when he lost his life, it brought up tragedy and triggers from the deaths that we had before. If you look at Abdul's case, and that's why we're asking for transparency in Abdul's case for his mother, Frederica, because his case relates us to what happened to Alfred Alongo when he needed mental health care and not law enforcement, and he died from that. It relates back to Earl McNeil when he was put in a wrap restraint and he died from being in a wrap restraint. It relates to Gilbert Gill when Gilbert Gill was arrested instead of sent to the hospital. And it reminds us of Omar Moreno Arroyo, who was arrested at home instead of taken to a hospital. These things are pattern and practice like was brought up before in San Diego County, and we have to get a handle on it. And the way to get the handle on it is to make sure that we encompass the medical staff. And I think the way to do that is a wise way is to engage with the labor departments, the labor unions, so that we can make sure we have proper coverage of these workers so that they're taken care of and feel safe, but still we have the cooperation to pull them under our jurisdiction or your jurisdiction. In this way, we can move forward in putting people that work for the staff, medical staff, under your jurisdiction. We don't see where disciplinary records are available to CLERB from medical staff. And we have people in our group that actually have experienced medical harm from medical staff and know that they've had disciplinary records, but we don't know where they are, what they say. That puts you at a strong disadvantage. And I encourage you to fight forward in both asking for transparency from these institutions and for the scanning of the deputies as they're going into jails. And we will probably get our hands around it if we're forceful enough. Paul Parker is gone. I'm not going to cry about that anymore. But what I will cry about is that we don't have a staff that will continue that fight. I know we can. I know we can do it. Let's do it, CLERB. We're trying to work together with you.
Chair Delaney, Diana, she ceded her time to Yusuf. Yusuf, do you want to use the 3 minutes?
Absolutely. So
Go ahead.
thank you. So when we come together as the families, we're not asking for anything that is a heavy lift. We're asking for simple transparency. When we were at the deposition today, you could see how, if you would all be a part of these public venues, the public depositions, the Board of Supervisors, we need for you to be the strength and the muscle behind putting forward the the 68 recommendations from the San Diegan Californians for Justice, San Diegans for Justice. We need you to be forward thinking and get those recommendations to the Board of Supervisors. And we're asking on the other end for the Board of Supervisors to ask them from you. There's no need to piecemeal that out to the Board of Supervisors. We cannot move forward if we give 3 or 4 at a time when we're trying to get 68 recommendations to the Board of Supervisors. It seems like an internal roadblock to make sure that we don't progress too fast. We need to look at ourselves in the mirror. Why are we doing these things? When we look at from the community, we want answers now. We can't get answers now in the current legislation and paperwork that we have now. But if we change the policies so that we can get that transformation, maybe families will get the numbers that they need. They need to get the evidence that they need so they can litigate if they have to, or they could just get closure to what's going on in their family member. Not everyone needs to litigate, but everyone needs closure, every single one. So these 68 recommendations, they need to go now. We don't need to sit on them. It shouldn't be a debate on getting these forward because they've all agreed. Even the CLERB, you seem to like and enjoy those recommendations and thought they were wise. So did the Board of Supervisors when there was only 4 of them. Now there are 5. Let's move that piece forward because that piece is life-saving. Do not make the mistake that we are not talking about just what would look good or what would be convenient. This is life-saving legislation that we're trying to push through, local policy that we're trying to push through for these recommendations for CLERB. CLERB has the power to be a leader in transparency in law enforcement. We're not saying that all law enforcement are evil or bad or anything like that. We're not saying that. But for the ones that are tarnishing the relationship and the medical staff who are tarnishing the relationship, they should be exposed. They should be held accountable. Whether that accountability is jail or fire or whatever it is, they need to be held accountable for what our loved ones experienced. Our loved ones cannot come back, but we will make sure and try our best to make sure that other loved ones are not lost in this process. We are a team, and we want to keep it a team. But we can't do that if we don't have faith in the CLERB and the faith in their ability to make change. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have a caller with the number ends with 959. Hello?
Hello?
We can hear you. You can go ahead. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Hello, this is Farid Kanabi Abdul Kamara that was killed on March 3rd. I'm still waiting for an answer from my son. I'm depressed. I don't even know what to do right now. I'm a nurse working in a hospital. I cannot go to work. I'm still waiting for an answer from my son. I want to know why the police killed my son. I don't know what's going on. I need an answer. I'm still waiting for an answer from my son, for Abdul Kamara. I want to know. I need an answer so I can move on with my own life. My own life is stuck because of waiting for an answer from my son. Because if they kill my son on the 2nd, on Saturday, then they call me on Tuesday, something wrong somewhere. So I need an answer for my son, Abdul Kamara.
Okay. Yeah, it is a really painful event. Abdul Kamara's stepdad. Right. Because, of course, Santiago policy, we are still asking the Santiago community to look into short policy of the police. Really, we need that policy to be amended because for the way they handle our son, it is not really right. It is not really right. And we really need the proof. We want to see the proof. We really want to see the proof, the way they handle our son. We need the camera. We need all the photos. We are asking kindly for the photos. Everything that's happening in the police station, we want to see the proof. We need the proof. We really need an answer for our son because it is a painful tragedy death that we son go through. So we really want to see the proof because we are expecting the force to be a force for good, but not to force for torture. We don't expect in force to be for force for torture. We need a force for good. We are not against the Santiago police, right? Because we know that the Santiago police, they are there to save life and property, but not to take life. Right. So that is the reason that we need a proof. We want to see all the footage, what transpired within the police and our son. We need that footage to be sent to us. We really want to see it. That is all we are asking for. And we need justice for our son because it is really painful.
Please, we need justice. Please, this is Abdul's mom again. I need justice for my son. I need justice, please, and thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will go with David Settles.
Yes, hi. My name's David Settles. I'm the brother of Matthew Settles, who passed away in George Bailey Jail August 16th, 2022. I'm also here as part of the North County Equity and Justice Coalition. I'm dialing in just, in remembrance to my brother, who I was very close with, his entire family. Matthew, before he was in jail and had a crisis and went back into county hospital, he called me every week. Every week or other week, I was picking him up, seeing him. He was close to all my family. So I'm here to represent him and just, state a couple things about Matthew. We've heard from Abdul Kamar's family. Their son, had a medical crisis, ended up dead in custody. Yusuf has also mentioned a couple other cases. My brother's case was a little bit unique, but in the fact that, he was in the county mental hospital and he was hallucinating. He thought people were imposters. So, we were fearful it would be a death sentence in jail. When he was sent to jail, we didn't know why. We still have no transparency why he was not put in the psych ward when he did go back and he was put into the general population. Within a couple days, he was assaulted, had 57 stitches. We still don't have, we did not know that at the time. We did not find out about all of this until after his death. There was about 2 months where we could not reach him. He was in the downtown jail. We still don't have any transparency why he was moved to George Bailey. And the whole time not put in the psych unit. We don't have any insight into the treatment or lack of treatment that he received. So that's why I'm dialing in and urging the CLERB to these reforms, to strengthen the CLERB, to push for these transparencies, and so that we can get improvements in custody. So my brother would not be dead, and this won't continue to happen. So that's why I'm dialing in. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Next, we will call Sergio.
Hello? Hello,
Hello.
can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you just fine.
I just want to say good evening and thank you, Mr. Yusuf, for your help. It's an honor knowing you, sir. I'd like to keep it brief and that I would like to briefly discuss how I was in custody for having pepper sprayed a gang member who was living in an old man's house. When said gang member was eventually evicted, I was beaten over the head with a baseball bat and shot when his friends came back to retaliate a month and a half later. The the sheriff's department in Alpine, California, is one of the most corrupt and incompetent sheriff's departments I've ever seen. When you want to talk about unsaid codes, they allowed a gang of methamphetamine addicts and fentanyl ferrets to gang stalk me for the better part of a year. And rather than defend me and my personal property and my life and liberty, they continued to harass me and or simply just let these gang members do whatever they wanted to do to me. When I was in jail, the conditions in the jail were extraordinarily filthy, disgusting, and overcrowded. Nowhere to sit, nowhere to lie down or sleep. And I used to not understand why people died in custody, but now I can see how they do, because there's nobody overlooking any of the inmates, who are free to basically assault each other, and for the most part are peaceful. But it even seems that the sheriffs allow instigators to come into the cells and cause problems. I cannot tell you how absolutely bizarre and corrupt the things are that I've seen. I wish I could just speak in a slightly more organized fashion, but there's just too much to put in 3 minutes. But I'd like to have more contact with you guys to have a more thorough discussion about what I've been through. And I want to express my deepest sympathies for the families that lost people in custody. I can certainly see how it happens. They do not do anything they can to facilitate a phone call to an attorney, being as if the numbers posted on phone numbers are too small to see. The phones don't work in the jails, et cetera, et cetera. If we're supposed to be the leaders of the free world, we're doing a poor job. We spend billions of dollars on foreign adventures, but we don't take care of our own citizens who are presumed innocent until proven guilty. We're supposed to be assumed innocent until proven guilty, which means you don't torture people such as they do. And again, you want to talk about unsaid codes, these sheriffs allow things to happen sometimes. And when I have more time, I'll get into more depth, but they allowed people to live in a missing person's house and did nothing while these people terrorized our neighborhood, which consisted of old people and veterans. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, I will call online person with the name Zoom user.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you just fine.
My name is Jennifer Schmidt. My father, Gilbert Gill, died in Vista Jail on Valentine's Day, 2022. My family called for an ambulance because he had dementia, been a master mechanic his whole life, no traffic tickets, no law enforcement interaction ever. We called for an ambulance and the Escondido Police Department showed up and told my family they were taking him to the hospital, but they took him to jail where he died 15 and a half hours later on the floor naked in his own feces with no care from any medical staff. How is this people are getting away with it? The deposition today showed the nurse laughing when they were asking their questions. It's sickening. How come nobody can have their teeth in the medical staff? How come they're not being overseen by anybody? It's absolutely ridiculous. Like he said, we're a free country. And tell me how my dad got any just in this. The last thing my uncle expected to hear when they came to notify he was like, what do you mean jail? You guys took him to the hospital. They're like, oh, the hospital said he needed to go to jail and sleep it off. And that is not what they said. That's not what they said. And it's just been lie after lie after lie from everything from the sheriff's department. And it's disgusting. These are elected officials. The county pays for these jails and we're paying for our loved ones to die. Once again, my name is Jennifer Schmidt and I'm calling on behalf of my father, Gilbert Gill. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will call Tom Packard.
I'm Tom Packard, and I'm a member of Showing Up for Racial Justice North County. During my consulting and teaching careers, I practiced, studied, and taught various types of continuous quality improvement processes. Several times I've asked you to tell the sheriff to do such work in the jails to identify and address systemic factors in jail deaths. So far, my comments have amounted to nothing. Perhaps a report by Dr. Homer Venters, an expert in correctional health care hired by the Cerna family's legal team, will get you to truly move forward on this. According to the UT, he said the sheriff's mortality reviews are woefully inadequate and the records show deficiencies occurred time and again, leading to many people dying unnecessarily. He added that the lack of proper post-mortem evaluations denied sheriff department leaders the opportunity to learn from their mistakes and prevent deaths in custody, and that there is no root cause analysis or review of any specific workflow errors that led to this failure, and consequently no identification of how this error will be avoided or even tracked in future cases. I imagine a lot of your time before meetings and in closed sessions involves detailed reviews of all the investigations done by staff. If you spent more time on what common themes there are among key identified problems, some recommendations for systems change, if implemented, should improve jail operations and save you some time in the long run. Also, have the sheriff provide detailed documentation of the quote, substantial changes improving the conditions in our county jails, unquote, that the sheriff has told the press have been made. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you. Next, we will call Julia Yu. Julia, can you unmute yourself, please?
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Julia Yu. I'm a partner at Iredell & Yu. In CLERB's review of cases, you will be called upon to make credibility determinations in every case. And this body's fairness and even-handedness are more critical than ever before, given Paul Parker's departure. So I want to use the case of Mr. Phoenix as an example. His case is something that is being considered by this body. It is alleged that in his case, a deputy named Rudy Peraza used force on him while Mr. Phoenix was in shackles. In 2019, a man named Miguel Villa was punched repeatedly in the face with the closed fist by a deputy named Rudy Peraza. Deputy Peraza had dragged Mr. Villa by his arm to an area outside where the video cameras were, to what they call a dead spot. He punched him several times hard in the face, then performed a knee drop on him. He would have gotten away with it because obviously it was his word against the word of Mr. Villa's. But the problem for Mr. Peraza was that his conduct was so bad that the San Diego City police officers who had brought Mr. Villa into the jail had lodged a complaint. So he couldn't lie about it in that case. During the pendency of Mr. Villa's case, I was approached by another attorney who needed help with her case because she represented a man named Anthony Bolden, who was in full shackles when a deputy named Rudy Peraza yanked him so hard by the chain through the food flap that he sustained several physical injuries. I'm not here to make a comment about Mr. Phoenix's case. It is entirely possible that the use of force on him while he was in shackles was justified. But I am using this as an example that you see this over and over and over again, even in cases where there is a sustained findings, where there is proof, where there is complaints by fellow officers of use of force or other misconduct, nothing is done. I bring this up to ask you, when you are judging the evidence, you are judging the credibility of anybody on both sides, that you see everything through a critical eye and always checking the implicit bias that you may have in looking at the statements of the people in custody. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair Delaney, that concludes our request to speak for in-person and online. I have two e-comments to read for the record, if you allow me to go ahead.
Please.
Okay, the first one is from Deidre McLeod. My name is Deidre McLeod, and I'm a constituent of Board of Supervisor Joe Anderson, District 2. My pronouns are she, her. I read the job announcement for the new executive officer, and it sounds like you are simply hiring another investigator. Seems to me that if you hire and advocate for transparency, accountability, and culture change at the Sheriff's Department, you won't need more investigators. As always, I'm urging this board to be proactive, not reactive, with the regard of its law enforcement oversight duties. Next comment to read for the record, it's from Parish Chambers, and this is regarding CLERB case number 23040. His comment says, I feel that this is against the law to get assaulted by the sheriffs. One agency sees the video, Internal Affairs, and they didn't say it was unclear. They made it seem that they saw the video and they saw everything that happened. This is a violation of my First and Eighth Amendments rights. Everything that happened to me, unanswered grievance, no blanket inside the cell, correspondence and book being tampered with. All of this is an act of retaliation because of this investigation. Now the video has a discrepancy. This doesn't make sense to me. Chair Delaney, that concludes all the requests to speak and the e-comments. Just for the records, the board final findings for November meeting was sent by email to Mr. Marcos Perazzo, and we will make sure to fix the online glitch overnight. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you very much. Okay. We have approval of the minutes for our March meeting. Motion to approve. GI, do we have a second? Do we have any discussion? Press Secretary, could you take roll call vote, please? Yes.
Yes. Secretary Blaine Pink, yes. Dr. Brown?
Yes.
Andrew Hayes?
Yes.
Ariana Pedrigo Mondragon?
Yes.
Tim Ware?
Yes.
G.I. Wilson?
Yes.
And passes.
Thank you. Next, we have a presentation. This is oversight of adult reintegration. Thank you. Reintegration and community supervision services by Probation Division Chief Christine Lefebvre. Hi, how are you?
Hi, good evening. I am going to start my timer just so I don't go over. I have a tendency to talk a lot. My name is Christine Lefebvre. I'm a division chief with the San Diego County Probation Department. I am currently
Microphone closer. There
Is
you
that
go.
better?
Thank you. Yeah.
I
I
also
want to make
tend-
sure those online can hear you as
I
well.
also tend to be too loud, so I was trying not to do that.
No, you're great.
As I said, I'm a division chief with the San Diego County Probation Department, and I'm currently assigned to the Adult Reintegration and Community Supervision Services Bureau. I'm really excited to be here today because we do a lot in adult probation that I think not a lot of people are aware of, so I'm excited to share that with you today. The next slide, please. Next slide. Thank you. I'm really excited to share this slide with you really quickly. This is our new probation department mission statement and vision statement. And I'll share that you are one of the first groups to get to see this. It just became official last week. So the probation department's mission statement is that highly skilled professionals promoting safe communities through engagement and connecting individuals to the highest quality of services while balancing opportunity with accountability. Our vision statement is enhancing the safety of our communities through restoration and rehabilitation. Next slide, please. I'm hoping that you'll see, these will come to fruition. You'll see them as we proceed through the presentation. If you haven't seen our chief, this is our chief, Tamika Nelson. Next slide, please. Probation, who we are as a probation department, we are San Diego community members serving our neighbors. And we're a group of highly skilled professionals who are committed to protecting public safety and guiding our clients into restoring their lives, their families, and the communities in which they live. Next slide. Probation officers are sworn peace officers. Our peace officer powers extend to those enumerated under Penal Code 830.5. Essentially, our peace officer powers include enforcing conditions of probation for those individuals on formal probation, mandatory supervision, or post-release community supervision, preventing the escape of any person who is currently detained in probation's custody, transporting clients who are on formal probation, MS or PRCS, and addressing any violations of the penal code or violations of probation that occur in the process of our regular duties. We also, can provide render mutual aid in the event of an emergency and if called upon to do so. Next. Our top priorities in the probation department, we call them our BESTs, are balance, engagement, services, training, and stability. Balance in maintaining who we are as probation. Probation is a very unique, has a very unique role in the criminal justice system. Also maintaining balance in our services to the community and to our clients, balancing being supportive and holding clients accountable. Engagement, ensuring that our engagement with both our clients and individuals that we're working with, as well as community camp members, is not just quantitative, but that it's actually quality engagement, quality communication. Services, we strive to provide the highest level of services to our community, to our clients, to victims, all the individuals that we work with. And in our services to our clients, providing services that are evidence-based, they're data-driven. There's research that shows that the services we're providing are linking our clients to our, have a recorded history of being successful. Training is the next one, and we are constantly providing continuous training to our staff to ensure that they are up to date on the latest and greatest and the trends that evidence-based practices are saying are working and are effective, so that we can utilize those. And then stability in our workforce, ensuring that we're bringing on a workforce that belongs in the field, and that we're also planning for succession planning and being able to pass on our knowledge and experience to the next generation of probation officers. Next. This one is, oops, I'm sorry, I flipped too far. So just to give you an idea, and I'll go over each of these a little bit individually, but I think a lot of the time when people think of adult probation, they think of probation officers just supervising folks who are on probation. And we do a lot more than that. So here we have, just to show you, we have a pretrial services unit. We have adult investigations. We provide reentry services. We have a community transition center, work furlough program. We work with individuals who are on formal probation, on mandatory supervision, on post-release community supervision. We have collaborative courts. And we even do some diversion programming. Next slide, please. Just to show you, we are located throughout the county. We have 8 community supervision and support offices. We have 2 reentry centers and 1 training center that is specific where we do all of our probation training, and we have our administrative office. Next slide. With going back to our community support offices, we have a probation office in each region of the county that are co-located with our courts in North County, East County, South Bay, and downtown in the Hall of Justice. We have, we also have an investigations office in Chula Vista. We also have a few units that are stationed at the Lemon Grove Family Resource Center. We have probation units co-located at the Southeastern Live Well Center, which just opened last August. And we have our pretrial services and our work furlough teams who are stationed at the County Operations Center, as well as our Community Transition Center, which is down in like the Midway Loma Portal area. A lot of the programs that we refer to include cognitive behavioral therapy, traditional housing, workforce development, substance abuse treatment, et cetera. So next slide, please. How do we serve our community? We we provide the judges with vital background information in conducting pre-sentencing investigations and provide assisting them in identifying clients' needs, rehabilitative needs, and making recommendations for sentencing and interventions. We utilize evidence-based practices in supervision of our clients and in case planning to ensure that we are identifying interventions that will appropriately address the needs of our clients, not just in content, but also in the extent of the intervention. We supervise and engage with clients in custody, both in custody and in the community. And we assist victims through restorative practices, ensuring that they're referred to any services that they might have identified or requested that would help them to cope with what they've been through, as well as collecting restitution, et cetera. And we connect and collaborate with various county agencies, our community providers, court partners, everyone. Next, please. Who we serve. Just as of April 2024, this year, we have supervised 9,202 clients in adult probation. Of those clients, about 8,500, a little over 8,500 of those clients total have been adults. So as you can see, the majority of probation clients are in the adult system. Of the about 8,500 clients that we have on adult probation, 1,656 of those clients are supervised as part of AB 109 realignment. And just to give a brief summary on that AB 109, that includes the mandatory supervision cases and the post-release community supervision clients who have been released from post-community release. I'm sorry, I have a slide later, but it just seems to fit better here. The PRCS clients are those who have been released from prison. Under AB 109, those clients are released and they were formerly supervised by the state parole department. And now when they're released from custody, they come back to San Diego and are supervised by the probation department. Our mandatory supervision cases are those clients who may have, prior to AB 109, been sentenced to prison and have instead been sentenced to local custody. And so they're serving their prison terms either locally at a local jail, or they're serving what we call split sentences, where they're ordered to serve a certain amount of time in the local jail and then the remainder of their time on community supervision under the probation department. Next slide, please. So probation officers' roles and responsibilities. Some of these I kind of hinted on before. We conduct social history and in our adult investigations, we conduct pre-sentencing and investigations, and we complete pre-sentencing reports for the courts. In those reports, we recommend, we advise the court whether or not a client is suitable for probation. We recommend, if they are suitable for probation, what the terms of probation might be, what would be effective for the client. Those are based on the client's needs identified in the initial assessment, as well as there are certain crimes that require certain interventions too. So we'll ensure that the court is, that we recommend those as well. We embrace evidence-based practices in supervising our clients in the community. Evidence-based practices, just the skinny on that is research has said what works. And so we ensure that we are trying to provide those services. And I shouldn't say provide services, because probation, we are not necessarily the providers, we're the connectors. So we help identify clients' needs, what rehabilitative interventions they might need, and then ensure that we're making the appropriate referrals to the appropriate programs in the community. Next slide. We have a pretrial services unit, as I mentioned before. In pretrial, we're not supervising these clients, but these are clients who have been released. They haven't been convicted of any crime yet. They've been released to the community, and with certain under certain orders of terms and conditions, and we ensure that they're following those terms and conditions and remind them of their court hearings to ensure that they attend their court hearings. Next slide. Investigations, we can skip this one. I mentioned that we do pre-sentencing reports and make recommendations to the court. Probation is a risk. We do supervision on risk-based supervision. So depending on the level of risk that a client has been identified, what their level of risk is, determines how often they will be supervised, or the level of interventions that we provide for them. So we have low risk supervision. These are clients who have been assessed as being very low risk, they don't have a lot of rehabilitative needs themselves. They're not considered to be a significant risk to the community. So these clients are seen as needed. Sometimes they might even be just reporting by phone or by mail. We also we have jurisdictional transfer caseloads and interstate compact caseloads, just to give you a skinny on that. The jurisdictional transfer cases in California, we can transfer clients between counties in San Diego or in California. So if we have a client from San Diego who wants to move to Santa Barbara, they can ask the court to allow that transfer, and then Santa Barbara would actually, if they accept the case, would assume supervision of that case. And we do the opposite too. Santa Barbara can send us a case. We also have interstate compact cases. While we don't transfer jurisdiction in the interstate compact, if a client has family, work, things that would be positive to their rehabilitation in another state and they request to move to another state, we can ask the court to allow them to go and ask the county or the state where they're going to supervise them as a courtesy for us. Next slide. Our medium risk supervision units supervise clients who have been assessed as being at medium risk to the community. Again, they don't have, they may have some rehabilitative needs, but nothing that requires them to be supervised very closely for us to provide any intensive interventions. So these clients are also seen as needed, maybe more frequently than the low risk clients, but oftentimes in the office, and depending on their success and their progress on probation, the frequency of their visits might decrease. Next. The high risk supervision is probably what most people think of when they think of probation. These are clients who have been assessed as high risk to the community, whether it's because of their criminal history, could be because of a particular crime, could be because of some unaddressed rehabilitative factors. So these clients can be, they're supervised as often as needed, warranted. It could be in the office, it could be in the field. And by field, I mean, it could be at home, it could be at their place of work, at their treatment providers. These clients might spend, for some period of time, might be in like a residential treatment program or a sober living home, and we would go see them at those facilities as well. This is also under the high risk supervision umbrella. We have some of our specialized units like the adult sex offender unit, the felony DUI unit, the behavioral health supervision unit. Next slide. And our collaborative courts. We have 7 collaborative courts in San Diego. 4 of those are drug courts. We have 1 in each region, north, south, east, and central. And south. I did say south. We also have a behavioral health court, veterans treatment court, and reentry court. And the collaborative courts are, it's a multidisciplinary team that works with them. They're led by the Superior Court judge. And we have partners from the district attorney's office, probation, the public defenders or city attorney's office, treatment providers and law enforcement that all work as a team in assisting these clients in being successful. Next. I might go a little bit over. Is that okay? Okay. We also have the reentry support unit, and these POs actually work with clients who are in custody. They meet with the clients when they're detained in local jail to help them to identify and determine their rehabilitative needs so that we can link them to services before they're released. Studies show that if we can get people linked with services upon their release, their chances of being successful are much greater. So we try to get those services in place before they get out of jail. Next. Our community transition center, any client who is released from state prison to post-release community supervision is transported directly to the CTC on the day of their release. At the CTC, we have a multidisciplinary team there that includes mental health clinicians, nurses, medical application assistants, probation officers, alcohol drug program specialists. It's kind of a one-stop shop for these individuals as they get out of prison so that they can meet with people who can help them address any needs that they might have, if they need assistance in finding housing, et cetera. At the CTC, we're co-located with the Lighthouse Residential Treatment Program, so they can also provide interim housing if an individual gets out and doesn't have a stable housing to go to. Next slide. Our work, furlough, and residential reentry centers are designed, they are the housing is community-based through a contracted through a private agency, but essentially, the program is, it works with individuals who are currently considered in custody, but are allowed to leave custody in order to pursue work or to go to work. And our probation team monitors them to ensure that they're going to work, that their needs are being met, and that they're complying with the conditions of their release. Next, and we can skip this one. And just to share some of our current initiatives on the adult side, the mobile probation service centers, we were awarded a grant of about $1.2 million in 2023 to build 2 mobile probation service centers, essentially probation offices on wheels that will serve to enable us to better assist our clients who are homeless, experiencing homelessness in the community, our clients who are in the rural areas of San Diego, any clients who have challenges with transportation or lack transportation, basically enabling us to bring the probation office to them. So those folks who are struggling to get to the offices to meet their probation officers now will be able to go to them. The vehicles are currently being built, and we anticipate them in the spring of 2025. We also are in alignment with the county's initiative for the alternatives to incarceration. Some of the examples I already gave you, like our work furlough program, our community transition center. We also look at like behavioral health focus when somebody is coming in and has committed a new offense or a probation violation, and they're in behavioral health crisis, seeing if we can refer them to behavioral health interventions as opposed to taking them into custody. Next. And just to give you an idea of what some of our accomplishments in 2023, our investigative team completed 7,220 investigative reports. We supervised over 19,000 adults on community supervision. Our pretrial services division monitored 1,040 clients, and with an 86% success rate of those clients attending their court hearings. We saved approximately 1,162 days in jail through our alternatives to incarceration for adults. Reentry services were provided to 2,514 adults, and we provided interim housing to 1,915 adults. And of those realigned adults under MS and PRCS, 100% of those clients were referred to services. Next slide. And last, a big thing, an important thing to our department is connecting with our community. So we participate in a lot of community engagement events. Those are just some of the pictures, whether they're local parades, whether they're the fair, the baseball games, being guest speakers at schools or Girl Scout troop meetings. We like to get out in the community and share a little bit of who we are and that we are part of the community. That's it.
Thank you. Do we have any comments from the community? Remember, these are comments, not questions. If you have a question, we can get you an answer, but I don't want to put her on the spot right now. You're welcome to. Come on up to the microphone so everyone can hear you.
Comments. I appreciate the supervision services. I wanted to make sure that we are capturing data on recidivism. I know you have addiction services, work furlough services, and community services. By the way, those slides were hard to read from over there, but I got as much as I could. So recidivism data is going to be really important to make sure that these services are actually engaging and working. And you probably have them already, but I wanted to make that comment. And also with one of our allies, Gina Burns from Mothers Against Torture, she had a son that was in custody in San Bernardino, and they tried to transfer him to San Diego, and it didn't work. So actually, he was homeless on the streets. So he went from jail to the streets. And we had to go from San Diego, many of the people sitting in this room, and look for him on the streets of San Bernardino. So this, just to make sure that there's no gaps with people falling through the cracks in that system. Thank you. Oh, sorry, one more thing. Veteran courts. I think I read veteran courts. I couldn't really see it from here. Okay, so veteran courts. I'm a veteran myself, 24 years of service, United States Navy, Chief Hospital Corpsman with service in Iraq and Afghanistan. When we have those veterans come back and they go through mental health problems with their PTSD. Sometimes they don't get the right services, and instead of being taken care of because of their service, they get deported. So we have a huge problem with deported veterans, and this kind of veterans court should be looking towards mitigating that fact and not deporting people for the wrong that they've done when they have PTSD and mental health problems, but get them treatment. So thank you.
Yosef, I want to thank you for your service. Thank you. Okay, does anyone else from the public have anything that they want to say pertinent to this? I think we heard you. All right. All right. With that, members of CLERB, questions, comments?
My pleasure. I think you have one, right?
Yes, we will post it tonight online, and I will make sure to send it to all the CLERB members.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. I had a
Vice
hard
Chair.
time reading it too. Thank you for your presentation. Do you mind, can you mind putting back the slide that was, I think, third from the last slide? And it listed the alternatives, the behavioral health alternatives for incarceration? Yeah, I think that was slide, I'm sorry, I thought that I was going over time. I think it was slide. So I heard you say.
23.
So I heard
I'm
you.
sorry,
that was page, it was slide 23, I think. If I heard you correctly, you provide background research on some of the populations that you're working with, probationers, and potentially provide sentencing guidelines, which might include probation as an alternate, probation and, I don't know, behavioral health treatment or programming and as an alternative to incarceration. Is that correct?
Yeah, and it's kind of a fluid process
Mhm.
because people are dynamic. We change, right? So our our adult investigations division will conduct a pre-sentencing investigation where they'll look at a person's social history, criminal history. They conduct an initial assessment to determine any rehabilitative needs. And also to determine the level of supervision that a client appears to be at the beginning when they first come to us. Then they'll make recommendations to the court as to an individual's suitability for probation, what the terms of that probation should be. That could be treatment programs, if they need substance abuse treatment, or if there are certain crimes that require specific classes, like domestic violence cases require specific classes. They'll make those recommendations to the court. Once the court has reviewed those, if they'll order what the judge will order what the judge
will
feels
order
is
what the judge-
appropriate.
Yeah.
And then the case will be transferred to whatever the level of supervision is that the investigator had identified as being the appropriate level of supervision. And then the assessment is done again within the next 90 days when the POs are as they're meeting with the individuals in case planning. And as clients achieve certain goals, then they move on. They'll move on to the different needs that they have, and obviously like prioritizing. Some needs are going to be a greater priority and immediate than others, and they work through that. But the case plan is constantly changing based on a client's success or regression, and making sure that we're addressing their needs.
Thank you.
Ariana?
Thank you for your presentation.
Mhm.
My question has to do with the mobile probation service. Is this only for adult?
No, we'll be able to utilize it for our youth services as well, and community engagement events, and just to note, I told you they're a probation office on wheels. We're also very sensitive to the fact that we don't want to go into neighborhoods and advertise like, "Hey, we're probation, we're here." So we'll be doing very subtle signage, like magnetic signage for the trucks. So when we tell our clients, "Hey, we're going to be at this park on the third Thursday of every month," or something like that, and they come to see us, we'll have a sign on the vehicle so they'll be able to confirm that they're at the probation vehicle, but it won't be advertising to the entire neighborhood that those people are our probation clients.
Thank you. And then I know for so with some of my work, in Mid-City Can, we're actually working with probation on the Ending Girls Incarceration Initiative. That's something that's really a big interest for us. And like in those conversations, we know that a lot of youth, like they kind of stay on probation because of they're not able to like attend court. Do you have that same issue with adults that they're not able to make it to court on time? And can the mobile probation service provide a service like that for folks that are struggling to get there?
I get really excited about the mobile probation service centers. I can't speak so much to what's happening on the youth side. That's not my area of expertise. But the mobile probation service centers will also have the capability of doing video conferencing, whether that be for court hearings, maybe even meetings. I don't know. We haven't sorted it all out, but the vehicles are going to be equipped with that capability.
How many vehicles are you?
Two.
Two? Okay.
Each
Thank
of them will have we'll have 4 workstations on board. We'll also have tables and chairs for clients if they want to come and sit outside. We'll have kiosk laptops that they can use to job search, apply for jobs online, etc.
Thank you.
GI?
Can you give us an idea on the trend line for recidivism? Is it going up, going down?
Oh, I can't give you anything you can quote me on right now. I'll have to look at that. I can get back to you though. I mean, it is, I would love to say that it's always going down and the world's always, it's always getting better. That's what we strive for.
Can you get back to us with?
But I can get back to, yes, absolutely. Or I
That'd be
can
terrific.
ask Ross to bring it with him next time.
Tim?
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I forgot to ask. I'm also wondering if if the department, when you're looking at data, like not just how many people you're serving, but if you're looking at like race, folks who have like housing, gender, like are you looking at that?
As part of the case planning when we're
Yeah.
working with our clients, absolutely, because and everybody has unique needs, and some of those needs we'll make sure that we connect clients to the services that they need, or even request. Like we have clients sometimes who have been court ordered to do certain programming, but there are other things, other assistance that they're looking for. So we'll make sure that we connect them to those services as well. We also, with regards to housing, we work with housing navigators. There are some stationed in the various offices. We have alcohol drug program specialists who will also be on board the mobile probation service centers so that we can provide immediate linkage to clients in need. And yes, so in the short answer to your question is yes.
Thank you.
Hey, Tim, do you have your microphone on?
Yes, so they're supposed to be completed around spring of 2025.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. It
You're
was
welcome
very
very much.
enlightening. Appreciate it and appreciate all the work that you do.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Chair Delaney. Thank you, Chair Delaney. We have one more request to speak online. Do you allow me to?
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you.
Is this a question or?
This came after the presentation, so I'm
Okay.
assuming this is
Okay.
about the presentation.
Hello. Hi, just wanted to add the part, I put my hand up during the probation presentation. If it's okay, I wanted to follow up on that.
Sure, go ahead. Remember, comment if you have.
Yeah, it's a comment.
Okay,
I
great.
just want to make sure everyone knew that when I work with the Juvenile Justice Commission, and I was the second vice president, we invited Paul Parker in to present to us. And one of the things that he agreed to work with us on was putting up posters with phone number about complaints and how to file complaints for juveniles in the detention facility. Probation said they would follow up and they would do that. I just want to make sure on CLERB's side that you're also working on that too, making sure that happens, and that CLERB is also responsible for complaints that are filed by juveniles in the facilities that probation is responsible for. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair Delaney, looks like there is another request to speak.
Okay.
Sergio, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We hear you just fine. Please go ahead.
I would just like to say we have to deal with our conditions in our jails. We have to deal with those conditions. And another thing I've noticed is how much time we spend unsupervised in jails. That has to be addressed. It is no small wonder that people die in custody because we're locked in these overcrowded concrete boxes with no supervision whatsoever. And the way we're treated does, in my opinion, constitute torture. I witnessed, and another
Sir,
thing is,
sir, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we've had public comments regarding at the beginning of the meeting. Do you have a comment regarding the services by the probation department?
yes, we also need a more direct or forthright services for veterans. As veteran myself, I think that a lot of us who wind up in trouble don't have any idea where to reach out to. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else, Norris?
Yes, we have Tom Packard.
Yeah, regarding the slide on accomplishments, I appreciated seeing that. And this is really common in the human services, and I'm sure probation has staff that know this, but almost all of those were outputs, you know, how many clients, how many units of service. There was one piece of data on success rate, maybe recidivism. So just my comment, I'm sure you have an evaluation unit that gathers a lot more data. And I hope that the CLERB, when you get presentations like this, maybe tell people in advance, show us your outcome data, what happens to people when they're not successes, what program changes are being made. So basically ask about outcomes, not just outputs. Thanks.
Anyone else?
That concludes the request to speak. So
Okay.
we can move forward with the
Okay.
next item.
Thank you very much. Thank you again for the presentation. Appreciate it. All right, next is Executive Officer's Report, and Norris will get. Are you ready?
I am. And so I would like to update the board with some staffing change here. We have a new member to CLERB, our admin lead, Aurora Milad. So we're so excited. Aurora, she's actually coming from probation department, and she's been with the county a little bit over than 2 years. And she was working at the Youth Transition Campus. Aurora, she attended the San Diego State University, receiving a bachelor degree in public administration. We're so excited, and we can't continue to work with her. So thank you for joining CLERB. Next, we have the workload report, attachment B. And for this meeting, we have 2 attachments to cover February 2024 and March. Briefly, we have received 10 new cases in February and we closed 12. Comparing with March, we received 11 cases and we closed 23 cases. And the attachments are already posted online. So if there's any questions, please send it to clerb@sdcounty.ca.gov. Also, we have also the case progress and status report, which is attachment C. For this meeting, we are covering the same thing, the progress for February and March. Posted again online. If there's any questions, go ahead and send it to CLERB inbox. Attachment D, which include the executive officer correspondent to full CLERB, also attached online, and any questions, please send email. Right, I have some updates regarding the online data sharing portal that we've been working to ensure secure data sharing and timely fashion with the board before each board meeting. So I've been working with FG3 IT team to create accounts for each board members. And we are actually in the process of creating the accounts for all the board members, including CLERB councils. We anticipate to have everything up running before May. So we are planning to have, yes. Yes, we've been actually, and a huge thank you actually for the FG3 IT group. They've been really creative. We've been looking at multiple options to ensure efficiency and secured data sharing. And of course, timely fashion. That's important.
That is fantastic. Thank you.
Yes.
Very good.
Thank you so much. So we anticipate to have a training for the full board scheduled. Hopefully, we will schedule it for next board meeting, May 28th. So we will be walking everybody through and show them how to use the tool. And that will also allow us ample time to make some tests before sharing the actual data that's going live on before the board meeting that's scheduled for June 11th. And the beauty of this new portal, actually, you will be able to use the county help desk. So if there's any technical issue that you're facing, you can call a number and someone will be helping you while you are using it online. And of course, if you have anything, any question, any technical issue that the IT team or the help desk is not able to handle it on timely fashion, please reach out to me so I can elevate. All right, so that is for the IT. We are working with the San Diego Sheriff Department to schedule a tour for the detention facility here in San Diego, and there's a recommendation to go and do some visits for the booking facilities at the San Diego Central Jail and the Vista Detention Facility and Las Colinas Detention Re-entering Facility. So I'm requesting the board member, if you are interested in to be scheduled for these tours, please send me your interest email. Once the dates are set by the Sheriff Department, we will schedule everyone, but it's going to be in groups. Also, we are working on scheduling some trainings for the firearms training system and their range. Also, if you are interested, please send me email so I can work on the schedule. Yes.
Is this consistent with our request regarding firearms training and use of force that we were talked about at a previous meeting?
Yes.
This is the briefing that we requested.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. All right, another update that we will be meeting with the sheriff and the command staff. This is going to happen on May 2nd. We were invited to this meeting and we are working to table anything that the public and the board members would like us to move forward and put on the table, discuss with the sheriff during the meeting.
So just for clarification, it would be the CLERB officers as well as Norris and Lynn.
Correct.
For when?
It's May 2nd.
May 2nd.
For what time?
The time? It's going to be 11 to 12.
This is just for the CLERB officers and Norris and Lynn. Correct. They called and asked for a meeting with the CLERB officers and Lynn and Norris, and we have to be very careful about the Brown Act, violating the Brown Act. So they've asked us if you have certain things, comments, requests, whatever, let us know and we can relay them to them. And then we can also say that maybe that invite other CLERB members that are doing, right. We'll discuss that with them as well. Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
Oh, I believe council's coming. You're coming as well, aren't you, Ellen?
Chair Delaney, I can be there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So are we, sorry, question. Are we supposed to let you know or NARS know if there's an interest for us to attend? Because
Well, there's no, at this point, they've
Whatever.
asked for just the 5 of us. But I think if you have an interest in having another meeting, we'll ask them about that as well. We just have to be very careful about no more than 5 people at one time.
I think I'm like 5 who?
5 CLERB members, yes.
Who are the 5 CLERB members attend?
So right now, there's just the 3. They asked for the officers. So that would be myself, Mary Ann.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
didn't.
I'm sorry.
I couldn't
yeah.
process that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we can definitely,
Thanks for
one of the comments that we can make is other CLERB members would like to be included as well.
Thanks.
We have to do it separately. Yes. Yes.
Like, thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have some updates regarding policy recommendations submitted to the probation department, and this is a case-related policy recommendation. I'll give a brief background just to refresh everyone about it. And this was regarding case number 23062. The complainant alleged the probation department delayed notification of a use of force which occurred at East Mesa Juvenile Detention Facility that involved a complainant's son. The policy recommendation submitted by CLERB board consists of 2 items. The first item is was recommended that the San Diego Probation Department amend institution services policy section 5.4, use of force subsection 5146.2, required notification to include language with establishment of time frame. And the response from, or the update from the probation department is, was the language was included and the new language was has been submitted to the Department of Policy and Legislation Unit for review. Once that approved and in implementation, we will be notified. Okay. Second part of item of the policy recommendation. It is recommended the San Diego Probation Department provides institution service staff a training bulletin which highlights institution services policy section 514, use of force, subsection 514.6, reporting the use of force to include language which instruct that all staff who use force shall complete a written use of force report at the time a separate involved staff. The response from the probation department regarding this item was the current policy already adequately addressed this issue. They go actually above and beyond by adding this item to the agenda on the of the weekly supervisors meeting. And also it was added to the agenda of the daily facility staff briefing to ensure that everyone is aware about this information and to make sure that everyone is following the policy. In addition, this topic will be subject of a future department training bulletin, and they are expected to release it by April 2024. And that's conclude the executive officer report.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, chair report. So we have a new process for media requests. And the request would be anything questions, please present them in writing to Norris. And from that point, Norris and I will discuss it, as well as maybe Marianne, and we will formulate an answer. And then or send it back to them. All right, as far as the Executive Officer Hiring Committee Workshop takeaway, we heard what the community said. We heard what board members said that was there. And remember, we had this, it was just the hiring committee. We have to be very, very cautious about privacy, about county regulations, the Brown Act. And we have been in touch on an almost daily basis with the county HR department to make sure that we are doing things properly. We are going to ask for a panel of the public to participate in an interview process with the finalists. If you would like to participate, if you are interested in that, we are going to select one person from each supervisor's district, along with another person for an alternate in case that one person can't make it. So if you're interested, please send your name, contact information, and the supervisor's district that you're in to Norris. Or Norris, do you want them to send it to CLERB at SD County?
Yes, they can do both.
Okay.
No issues.
Yeah,
Yes.
either one. We need the names prior to the May 28th meeting, because we will be drawing them from hats, supervisor hats, at the meeting. And I think that is about all that I have on the chair's report. So now we will go to new business. Oh, yes, so sorry. Yes. Any comments or questions?
One question regarding the panel.
Yes.
Is it only one member from each supervisor district
Correct.
and the hiring committee of the
No,
clerk board?
this will not be the hiring committee. This will be, it will be council, and it will be HR, or the county's HR person.
Okay, so 5 members of the, okay.
Correct.
Of the public. Got it.
And
For the
they
panel
will-
to make recommendations to the
To the
board.
hiring committee,
To
correct.
the hiring committee. Okay,
Correct.
Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't. wasn't clear.
That's okay.
Any other questions? Let's do it in closed session. Okay. Okay. All right. New business.
Okay, Chair Delaney, if you allow me, before we go to the new business, I can see 2 online attendee. They are requesting to speak. Do you allow me to call
Yes.
them?
Sure.
Thank you. So first we will call Darwin Fishman.
Good evening. I wasn't going to speak, but I did want to share 2 things real quick. First, I wanted to say that when I was on the CRB, I did a tour of the jail like you described, and we had about 8 people. So the number's arbitrary. You can obviously, will hopefully work that out in terms of how many people you want to take. And I do think touring the jail is very useful. The other thing I wanted to say for the search, the new EO, replacing Paul Parker, thank you for setting up a community component. And I'm glad that Tom and Surge North County led the push for that. And I hope that you've already done a community session. I hope that you find other ways to engage the community in this search process, and that you take the input that we provide you and impacted families give you. Is really important and significant, especially given the history and the timing in which Paul Parker left, and the ongoing struggle challenges that you currently have and what will be expected of the replacement. So thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Tom Packard.
Yeah, I submitted a request to speak on item 6. I don't know if it maybe didn't show up or if I can technically only speak on one item, but thank you. With the hiring of the new executive, the CLERB is at an important inflection point. If you don't advertise and recruit for and hire an executive with demonstrated skills and commitment to systems change, you're likely to become increasingly ineffective. Please make sure that in all your potential applicant pool, people know that you are looking for somebody with such skills, including working with county and state elected officials for legislative change, and then hire and support such a person. If you don't do that, while I want to continue to support your work while pushing for more assertive efforts at systems change, sometimes I feel like I'm ready to quit speaking to you and only focus on the Board of Supervisors and the legislature, unless the families want us to continue to speak here, which of course we'll do. I want to see some signals in your discussions and decisions that you're truly committed to systems change. I appreciate the opportunity you've created for community input, but I really think you need to put out the word that you're looking for a candidate, somebody you can hire that goes beyond just the technical management things that are in the posted job announcement. Thanks for your attention.
That concludes the request, Turtolini.
Okay, thank you. All right, new business. I'm going to turn it back over to you, Norris.
All right, thank you, Chair Delaney. So under new business, we have only one item. It's a policy recommendation to the San Diego Sheriff Department. Accept all collect calls in Internal Affairs Department. To give you background of this policy recommendation, on March 28, 2024, CLERB discovered the Internal Affairs Department does not accept collect calls. According to an AI representative, incarcerated person in county jails have the option to contact AI by dialing *29 from San Diego County jail phones. CLERB was contacted by an IP in San Diego County custody who was unaware of this phone number, and this call were constantly rejected. Furthermore, many IPs are sentenced at prisons and use collect calling system. In an effort to ensure IA staff are able to respond to all incoming complaints, it is recommended IA accept all collect calls. If the call is from an IP in San Diego Central Jail custody, there is no associated cost and the information regarding the *09 can be relayed at the first contact. If the call is from another facility, the IP should still have the opportunity to communicate with the IA. These individuals should not be penalized due to their inability to pay for a telephone call. This recommendation will support the equity initiative embraced across the county. So the policy recommendations read, it is recommended that the Sheriff Department Internal Affairs IA Department accept collect calls.
Okay, do we have any public comments?
Yusef Miller, North County Equity and Justice Coalition, Saving Lives in Custody campaign, and I support this initiative. This recommendation is important for equity. There are a lot of people who can't afford to make calls, or there are those who can't afford to post bail, and they have to remain in jail because they can't afford to not be in jail, and they have to spend their time in the county that has the highest in custody death rate. But this is along those same lines that we need to look for equity in people so that everyone is able to make calls to their loved ones, even if they can't afford to call. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments? Norris, anyone online?
I don't have anyone online.
All right, board? GI? Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Shall we add that to the policy recommendation?
I guess we can add that.
Yeah, we will. We're gonna vote on it. Yeah. Is that your motion? Yeah. Okay, so we have.
I just wanted to say, there is no charging. They don't have to pay for all the local San Diego County jails, they don't pay. However, the system still says when they place a phone call, you still have to go through and accept the call, and it does say charges for your call have been accepted or whatever. So maybe a recommendation to change the language, because if you accept a call, you're not being charged.
And they don't know that, though. Some of the incarcerated persons would not know that they're,
No, they know. I
Well,
believe
then-
they know. I think it's just,
well, then I don't know.
the language just needs to be changed.
Why was
On
the
the phone system.
I don't understand why the recommendation was made then.
Internal Affairs. Hello. Okay. The recommendation is specific to the Internal Affairs Department. So in order for an incarcerated person to contact Internal Affairs, they have the option to make a free call using *29. However, some incarcerated persons were unaware of this. Therefore, their calls were being rejected, but also people that have already served their time in jail and are serving their time in state penitentiaries do not have the free option. So that's why we made the recommendation so that they can also make complaints for their time in custody if they do not have the option to contact them once they're out of custody. Does that make sense? So it's very specific just to internal affairs complaints. I think that's where we're getting hung up. And then as Ellen said, that calls are free for incarcerated people in San Diego County custody, except you still have to hit accept. But that's unrelated to this policy recommendation.
Okay.
I
Jai.
just wanna restate my motion. to consider toll-free number.
Okay. Explore toll-free number. Okay.
I'll second.
For internal affairs. Okay. Just so that, for the ease of the incarcerated persons, so that they aren't confused by, okay. Okay.
Yeah, Yusuf Miller, sorry. I just want to make an amendment to my statement that now we're not talking about loved ones to loved ones. We're talking about incarcerated peoples to internal affairs, that we need an open channel for complaints. We have a lot of people who don't know how to complain, and they are reaching out to us in the community. I just received a call from a woman who is pregnant and she needs extra meals, and she wants to know about these extra meals, and she's complaining. And I don't know the answer to it, but I need to reach out to somebody. I reach out to guys like you. But if they had some kind of mechanism that they knew how to filter these through, I think they should still send it to us, to the community, to make sure. But
Okay.
anyway,
Are you talking about, is the woman, the pregnant woman incarcerated?
incarcerated.
Oh, okay. Got it. Got
Yes,
it. Okay.
yes. So yes, that's what I meant. Sorry. She's incarcerated and she's looking for these extra meals and she's not getting them. So she for her condition and it goes like that. So my point is that internal affairs should be an open channel with postage inside the jails, however you do it, to communicate to the inmates that this is how you submit this call. So thank you.
Got it. Can you restate then, GI?
Whatever method to be, I'd like them to explore whatever method to include toll-free number, update the language, provide a separate line so that there's no cost.
Got it. So there's no misunderstandings.
No misunderstanding.
Okay. All right. Okay. Any other comments? Did you do roll call vote? You sure? Okay.
Chair Eileen Delaney.
Yes.
Vice Chair Marion Pintar.
Yes.
Bonnie Kank, yes. Dr. Brown.
Exclamation mark.
Andrew Hayes.
Yes.
Ariana Federico Mondragon.
Yes.
Tim Ware. G.I. Wilson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Good. All right. Unfinished business. I don't think we have any unfinished business, do we?
We don't have any item under the unfinished business.
Okay. Board member comments.
If I may?
Yes.
In addition to, all the other backgrounds or information that we're requesting of a new person. Okay, thank you. All the other qualifications
I would like to add something else to the qualifications of for the next person.
Okay, are you talking about the executive officer?
Yes.
Okay, hang on to that for closed session.
Closed session.
Yeah,
thank
yeah,
you.
closed session.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
I would just like to recognize Deputy Sheriff, just retired,
Yes.
Teresa, for stellar work in bringing some changes to the medical intake.
Absolutely. Thank you. I agree.
I think, I just like to recognize her for the effort that she made, and I'm sad to see her.
I agree. Yeah, agree. All right. Anyone else?
Chair Delaney, we have one more request to speak online. Do you allow me to call it?
On which one?
I'm not sure, but I guess on.
Let's go ahead and see what they have to say.
Yeah. Hello? Michael?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello?
Michael, we can hear you.
Okay. I was just going to comment about the person that the ability to, they were talking about the receiving collect calls, the internal reviews or whatever. What I want to say is so many times we see in these deaths in custody is that people cannot even, they're in such a horrible place in their life. A lot of times they're having mental problems or they're having addiction problems. They're in situations where they can't even call out. They can't even get to the phone. Sometimes they're in a mental state where they don't even know how much they're really suffering. They can't see the situations they're really in. Is there somebody that goes around and that maybe even the IA go out into these places, into these jails and speak with people, go through the halls, go through the cells, go through the different blocks and look for people that might be in desperate straits? Is there anybody that goes around, just like Yusuf saying, some of these people, they don't know how to reach out. They're locked in a cell. They're not being let out to shower. They're being left alone to die. Somebody needs to be involved in the jails to go around, not just to receive a collect call, but to actually go and talk to these individuals. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe that's a subject that we should discuss. Maybe they could put stickers or something, in the jail cells if you need to reach out. But we can bring that up at a different, when it's agendized. Okay. Any other comments? Okay, do we have any questions for the sheriffs or probation liaisons?
Is there a liaison here today?
Yeah, there's probation liaison.
Probation.
And
And
sheriffs. Maybe they want to tell us something.
I do want to tell you something.
All right.
Hey, Aurora. Good to see you. We work together at YTC.
Sorry, she's ours now.
Had I known that was happening. Yeah. In February, there was a request. I'm sorry, I don't remember which board member made that request for some breakdown of the ages of the young people that are in custody. So, as of this morning, we have a total of 273 young people in our 2 facilities, and they break down as follows: 2 12-year-olds, 6 13-year-olds, 13 14-year-olds, 44 15-year-olds, 58 16-year-olds, 59 17-year-olds, 48 18-year-olds, 20 19-year-olds, 13 20-year-olds, 9 21-year-olds, and 1 23-year-old. And that is ever changing. So that was as of 8:20 this morning, and I guarantee you it's different now. But that's the answer to that question.
Anyone have any questions? Okay, yes.
You have, are they broken down by racial? How many of them are black, this or whatever? Do you have that?
I don't know if that information is available. I'd have to look into that.
Thank you.
Anything else? Did you have a question? Okay. We have a question. You're off the hook tonight. Thank you for giving us that information. We appreciate that.
Yeah. If it's gettable, I'll get it.
Great. Wait, we have one more, sorry.
I think Santa Clara has a dashboard for youth incarceration or youth in probation. Do we have something like that for San Diego County?
A dashboard, you have to be a little more
That has like
specific.
a breakdown.
Oh,
of-
you mean who's in custody right now,
Yeah,
kind of
who's
like?
in custody. I think it also like breaks down like by race, gender.
I'm not familiar with it if we do have one that's public facing, but I can find out.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just wondering. I mean, Santa Clara has it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
Question for our sheriff's liaison. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, GI.
Okay.
We're keeping Aurora.
Yeah, she,
Like I said, had I known.
sorry.
Just. Thank you. The gentleman that just commented, Michael, I wanted you to, do you have any ability to address that question or that comment tonight? About whether someone, I mean, I know that I've toured all of the facilities. I've seen the deputies, but going around and doing their well checks.
Yes.
What happens during those well checks? What kind of information are they seeking from the incarcerated persons? Are they how are they trying to gauge? What are the questions they ask? What are they looking for to gauge the wellness of the incarcerated person as they're doing their rounds?
So by and large, it's for safety and welfare, checking on their health, making sure there's no disruptions. Oftentimes there's fights in there so that go unreported. So they're checking their condition, making sure there's no signs of trauma, engaging in conversations. A lot of times the incarcerated persons will approach them, ask for various things, complaint forms, or ask about their stores or hygiene kits. So routine conversation and just checking for any signs of distress. And that happens. I mean, we're inside the modules more than just for security checks. It's passing out medications, it's clothing exchanges. We're in and out of those modules all day, every day.
Okay, and then when they are in distress,
Mhm.
what are they required? What happens next? What are
So-
they required to do? How are they required to report it? Who are they required to report it to? What's the period of time in which they're required to report when they are seeing distress or something that, some of the cases, for example, that we review, it will, the reports will say something to the effect of, it was observed that the cell was extremely dirty, that there were feces on the floor, that they had not eaten their meals. And sometimes it says that's looked like had been the case for days. Like, how does something like that happen if the deputies are required to be doing these well checks on a regular basis?
So there are times where, and I have seen those reports from the investigators where it looks like it's the cells disheveled. They do go through, they are trained to look for those kind of situations. If there is a sign of distress, what they'll do is maybe they'll finish their check. If it's requires immediate attention, they'll call for somebody over the radio to come assist, finish the check, or have that other individual come check on that individual, pull them out, get the cell cleaned. That's typically how it should work. Staffing permitted, but yeah, if there is something like that we see that's requires immediate assistance, then we'll take immediate action. If it's something that is maybe in disarray, they're not the cleanest cells. I mean, they don't.
No.
Yeah. So we do our best and we make a judgment call. If it's something that's a health hazard, or maybe if it's just dirty, we got to kind of make that distinction between the two. Is it going to pose a danger to them or somebody else that's in there? So then that's kind of how we look at it. But there are times, I guess, that where it's based on the needs of the facility, that it's not addressed immediately.
And one more follow-up, if I may. So that is in the permanent detention facilities, that the regular patrolling, the regular well checks.
Right.
Tell me about how that works also in the what are the, when they're first in custody in, you know, the initial, some holding cells that are usually at, I guess they're mostly at Central and Vista. And they're, I think, only supposed to be there for 48 hours is what's the limit?
Yeah, and I don't want to be misquoted, you know, as far as the time that they're supposed to be down there, but same thing. If anything, that area is getting seen more than others because there are people coming in and out at all times, or people being moved from that temporary holding cell area and being housed. So there's people coming in and out all day long. We have a lot of staff patrolling that area, so it's not meant for long term. There's not going to be the same kind of issues that you would think that you would see in a different cell or a holding or a assigned cell.
So you think that those cells theoretically get more attention?
They do.
They're looked at more
They're more observed.
frequently, more observed.
They're more
And
observed just by the flow.
And when somebody is removed from one of those and before someone else is brought into them, is someone required to look through the cell, make sure it's suitable to put another person in? I would think if there's like bodily fluids or something in those, you'd want to have those cleared out before you put someone else in them.
Sure, and a lot of the tanks have multiple incarcerated persons in there, so there may be 5, 6 in there, or 7 or 8 in there. You know, so if you move one, you may not necessarily go back in there, pull everyone out, and clean the cell, unless there's something that's been reported to you by the incarcerated person or something you observed during your security check that requires immediate attention. So it's not. I wouldn't say it's one in, one out, and we're checking every single time
Right, right,
cleaning
I
every time.
understand.
But yeah.
Thank you.
And
Okay.
most of these facilities, other than Las Colinas, are age-old facilities.
Aged.
Yeah, they're old built, they're old.
Yeah, the older, correct.
Brown?
No, last place is. They do.
Yes.
They do.
Janice. Yosef, you have, is that your hand that it's like,
It's for probation, actually. I just talking before I even get here.
okay, we might not get the
Yusef-
answer for you tonight, but we
Yes,
can
yes,
ask.
Yes.
Okay.
Yusef Miller, North County Equity and Justice Coalition Saving Lives in Custody campaign. And I want to emphasize statistical data when it comes to race, ethnicity, and things like that. Here in San Diego County, we have in our schools, we have the highest DNF rates are in Black and brown communities, and particularly Black communities. When we see the suspension rate and expulsion rate, it's in Black and brown community. So this is very important so we can see and target some of these pipelines going into these juvenile detention centers. And one thing I wanted to also emphasize is the need to look at whether these children come from either foster home, foster care, or if they have mental health issues that are documented, and if they're not documented, to be documented. All of these are factors because when we look at our homeless population, they are the appears to be the result of these kind of things happening in our youth. Thank you.
So I do have a question for the sheriff. So regarding, well, actually too, it's off the statement of Michael Cerna, what he stated about the IA, about the internal affairs. I mean, so like this, you know, for example, Elisa was in there for 5 days. I mean, she was so weak. I mean, how could she even go and make a phone call? I don't even know if they even had phones there available for these people in the medical ward. And so the thing is, you know, there's also another example is Patricia Adamson. She also died, I believe last year, where her cell was so filthy, they were barely taking her out to clean her cell and have her bathe. And she ended up dying on the way to the shower. So, I mean, that doesn't happen just overnight. So who's going to these, to the, especially the medical, you know, observation, you know, unit, you know, especially, you know, with the females. I mean, I understand there's violence, there's stuff, you know, concerns, you know, but I think with the women jail, I don't think it's as like the men jails where they're out to, you know, they're fighting and stuff like that, especially even the medical unit. I mean, who goes in and checks these individuals that are there? I mean, I think they should, the internal affair needs to go and do a drop, like check in and see if these people, they need help, assistance. Because if not, they're just left in the cell just to die. And they're being neglected. Even when Elisa was found, the homicide investigator, she's Lisa Brannon, she actually stated walking towards the cell after Lisa already had passed that she could smell the stench of vomit and everything. Today's deposition, the nurse Pasquale was asked about how could she have not smelled the stench of that cell, and she said, "Oh, I didn't." I mean, you know, Elisa's even her mattress, they had to throw it away. It was soaked with vomit, and Elisa had vomit all throughout her hair. She wasn't, you know, being helped to bathe. So where's, you know, there's a neglect. So I think the internal affairs need to get more involved and not just wait for somebody to complain. They need to investigate and go in there. And so do a surprise visit and see who needs help.
Thank you. But that begs the question, though, if you could get an answer for us, maybe. Those that are in medical, how do they, how does that work? How can they get access to a telephone?
Yeah, I can definitely look into that
You
for you.
could get us that information, that'd
Yeah,
be
and if there's
terrific.
any other questions, like we have that meeting on May
Okay.
2nd, so
Great,
I
appreciate
can try to
that.
have those answers for you
All right,
prior to the meeting.
thank you. Anyone else? Okay, with that, council, could you read us into closed session, please?
Yes, certainly, Chair Delaney and board members. We will have 8 matters in closed session pursuant to, 9 items for closed session pursuant to California Government Code, Section 54957.
Thank you, everyone. We'll reconvene in about 5 minutes. All right, 10 minutes for the old guy over there.